scientist who contributed to UN climate report touts global virus as final solution for curbing emissions. The article says that Bill McGuire is a professor emeritus of earth sciences at University College London and co-director of the New Weather Institute. It goes on to report that, quote, McGuire noted Saturday in a since-deleted tweet, "If I'm being brutally honest, the only realistic way I see emissions falling as fast as they need to avoid catastrophic climate breakdown is the culling of the human population by a pandemic with a very high fatality rate." McGuire's quote-unquote realistic solution sounds like the yet-to-be-released COVID-19 sequel that fellow alarmists such as Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, the head of the World Health Organization, have warned about in recent months. At a World Economic Forum event in January, Ghebreyesus discussed Disease X and said, "Anything happening is a matter of when, not if." The WEF suggested that Disease X could result in 20 times more fatalities in the coronavirus pandemic, reported Newsweek. McGuire appeared to have an idea of what virus might do the trick, having linked in his Culling tweet to a Saturday article in The Guardian about the H5N1 strain of influenza, commonly referred to as the bird flu. The thrust of the linked article was that the bird flu being examined by British scientists might ultimately leap into human beings, end quote. Why are climate alarmists always like this? Joining us now to discuss all this and a whole lot more is Larry Behrens, the Communications Director of Power the Future. Larry, thanks for being here tonight.
Thanks, Kara. That's such a great question.
I know, right? So we know the climate crazes and the COVID crazes are very closely linked. Oftentimes the same people, if you put them in a Venn diagram, as Kamala Harris loves to talk about her Venn diagrams. But do you think this latest scandal really puts that into perspective?
It absolutely does. You know, we all went through COVID and saw what the pro-lockdowners did to our freedoms, to our schools, and to every facet of our life. And we looked at the green movement at that time, and I saw people who were running for office who were actually saying, quote, the good thing about COVID. And that is what they were celebrating, is that people weren't flying, people weren't driving anywhere. And so when you see them tweet things like that now, you really start to see what they're always about. And let's not forget, it was just over this weekend that little Greta was arrested at Eurovision in a pro-Hamas rally, and she has always been the front face, the media darling of the climate movement. So the fact that she now joins her other paid protester friends in pro-Hamas protests should surprise absolutely no one. They're the same people doing the same things for the same reasons, and it's not reasons you or I would want to understand or believe.
Yeah, you know, for the longest time, the green movement for decades, I think even the co-founder of Earth Day back in the 70s, didn't he think he murdered his girlfriend and then composted her body? So, I mean, these are the kinds of people we've been dealing with, right? You know, very anti-natalist, very anti-human. You see those, not obviously everyone in the movement, but a lot of the founding thinkers of the movement. That's definitely their train of thought, and you see that dispersed throughout. And so over the decades, we've seen predictions come and go. They've all been failed predictions, right? A lot of, you know, scaring and fear-mongering and all the rest. And the reason why I bring that up as well, because talking about culling humans through viruses to help with climate change, but then why do we even care about the climate if all the humans are dead? So it doesn't even make sense. It's just very anti-human. Well, the reason I bring that up is I'm sure you saw heading into this past weekend, there were 2 Just Stop Oil protesters, and we're used to seeing this, right? The paint and the rest being thrown onto paintings and other works of art, statues and the like, historical pieces. Now it's the Magna Carta, and you see the protesters, the Just Stop Oil protesters, 82 and 85. One's a Reverend Dr. Sue Parfit, the other Judy Bruce. And you see what they're doing. But what came to my mind was they've lived through a gazillion failed predictions on the climate, and yet they still are die-hard believers. What were your thoughts watching this video when it first came out?
Yeah, it was the perfect illustration of the climate movement, them literally trying to destroy foundations of Western civilization, is it not? It is not them theoretically trying to do it. They literally took a hammer and sickle and tried to do it. And your point is exactly the right one, Kara. Let's start comparing them to what they are, which is a failed cult. If you put their failed predictions in the world of like religion, and someone said the world is going to end on such and such a day, well, that person would be mocked when that day came and passed and nothing happened. But yet you throw a PhD after your name, and all of a sudden you're, I guess, have immunity against all the failed predictions you've ever had.